Okay, folks, I have no visual aid. I only have my notes. Today's feature film was straight to Netflix. This movie has a 93-minute runtime. It is the directorial debut of Jerry Seinfeld, Unfrosted. It is the fictionalized story of the creation of the Pop-Tart. The movie is based off of a stand-up routine that he does about Pop-Tarts. So the movie takes place in 1963. It is a period film. And, you know, I'm very scrupulous of period films. I think P.T. Anderson does some of the best quality period films, in my opinion. And I would say that Spielberg does too, as far as authenticity. The big red herring in this movie that really drove me nuts is Jerry Seinfeld is a car guy. Right off the bat, this is setting a bad precedent for this film. He is a car guy. He loves cars. He even had a program called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where he would describe the year, make, and model of vintage cars that he would pick up each comedian in. This movie takes place in 1963, and in one scene, you see a 1967 Ford F-100 stake bed truck pull into the frame. Outrageous! There's another film that makes a glaring mistake like that, and my friends always talk about how I fixate on things like this. Let me grab that for me. This movie, Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson, also has a glaring car mistake. The movie is set around 1965, and they feature a 68 Plymouth station wagon. How could you make a mistake like that? Where is your fact checkers for the authenticity here? I don't know. And then some of the outfits just didn't really feel 1963. It seemed more 70s than early 60s, especially the Melissa McCarthy character's outfit. And my friend said that Jerry doesn't really feel like he fits the period. But Jerry Seinfeld acts like Jerry Seinfeld, right? He's not trying to put on a character mask like a lot of other actors. This movie has every big comedian that he knows and that he's mostly featured on his Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee program. But it just kind of falls flat. I feel like he wrote this movie more for himself, although he did write this movie with 3 other people. And me and my buddy Steve watched it. And I kept looking over to see his reaction, and his reaction as he was laying down on the couch was just, he suffered through the movie with me. It's not a comedy classic. There was mild chuckles, but there was no big laughs. It was just kind of stupid, and some of the characters were just kind of dumb. It was overall not a very funny movie. And the premise of the movie I felt like had a lot of potential, but the story just wasn't great. It was just cheesy. I don't know. My friend Steve said he could give it 0 out of 5, but then he and I both said, well, we watched all of it. There's no such thing as a 0 out of 5 on a 1 to 5 scale. You got to be 1 to 5. To me, a 1 is not watchable. I'm turning it off. No offense to my friend Jonathan. He sent me a movie, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. I never even reviewed it. I got about 10, 20 minutes into it. I turned it off. It just wasn't for me. This movie is at least worthy because of, again, I watched all of it, and there was parts that were okay. There were some parts where I chuckled. Overall, I'm going to go 2 out of 5. It was just not the best. The movie was filmed in California, based in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it drives me nuts when a lot of these movies, you could tell they're not filmed in the place. That movie that I reviewed last week, Night Swim, you could tell it's supposed to be in Minnesota or Wisconsin. Totally an LA suburb. Same thing. There's suburbs in this movie. Definitely not the Midwest. Critics hated this film. Rotten Tomato critic average is 41%. Even the 250 or so audience members that have submitted their score did not really care for it, with an average of 56%. Very low average on IMDb of 5.6 out of 10. And I typically find the Google users submitting their reviews to be on the higher side. Even they are low at 3.3 out of 5. And over 1,400 people have submitted their reviews. So overall, you would think that I would love a period film, and I love the television program Seinfeld, but
We love Seinfeld.
This show was no Seinfeld. It was just kind of lame, and I was disappointed. I wanted to all the people that
Was it as bad as An Ugly Baby?
Not as, I don't know.
Remember that Seinfeld thing?
But again, it's not the same writing team. Jerry was one of the writers of this program, but he had a lot of other people, and it just, the jokes were just kind of, I'll go with you. The jokes just kind of fell flat. We're going to the park, so I'm going to cut this review short. Like I said, every comedian that he knew was in this movie. Bill Burr, Jim Gaffigan, Amy Schumer, can't stand her. But she didn't necessarily take away from the performance. I mean, it was just, you know, you're working. I think the best part about this movie was the Hugh Grant playing Tony Tiger in a very British theater thespian kind of a role. And then I like the Christian Slater guy playing the mobster milkman. That was pretty funny. Asides that, I'm on all of these Seinfeld Facebook groups, and everybody said that the movie was great or the movie was awful. There wasn't really kind of an in-between. It was either like, this was an enjoyable movie or this is complete garbage. My buddy Jonathan turned it off in the first 20 minutes. I get it. It's just not a classic movie. It's a one-watch. Probably won't ever watch it again. My friend Steve reacted that this felt like it was a movie that was like made for kids, like you'd find in the Dollar Tree bins, some European film that they dubbed the English in. It's just cheesy and awkward. So that's my review. And I'm trying to think of like iconic comedy movies where you're just thinking about it. Like Dumb and Dumber to me is an iconic comedy film. There's so many quotable lines in that movie. And it's just up there in the old noggin. The Blues Brothers, it's an iconic comedy film where you're just thinking of these lines. Or even, I'm trying to think of another one. Anchorman, another period comedy classic. This movie does not rise to the level of those types of movies. That's it, folks. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry, Jerry. I love you, and I love your other stuff. I love Seinfeld. It's one of my favorite programs, but this movie just didn't do it for me. Until next time, we'll see you then.